Oh, right. Well, I guess it's time to get up and to talk about the top 3 things that you can do to reach your physical goals. So, number 1 is to get a workout plan. Now, this workout plan should consist of something that is progressive. Whether it's, resistance training, cardiovascular training, stretching, your plan needs to progress over time. If you do the same thing day in and day out without any extra load or any extra duration or any extra difficulty, you're not really going to make any gains toward your goals. You're not going to progress. And the point is to progress towards a goal. I personally like to have a well-rounded workout routine. So I perform resistance training primarily in the form of weight training. And I train weights usually 4, maybe 5 days a week, depending on the plan that I've devised for that mesocycle. Then you also want to work out cardiovascularly. Now, you can do circuit training, which does provide some resistance training along with cardiovascular training intertwined by using somewhat lighter weights, mixed with some body weight movements as well, and then no breaks between a series of 5 to 7 exercises with a rest between rounds. Personally, I only do this when I'm short on time, so I'll do this. Oftentimes I would do circuit training more often during my busy season as a CPA, but most of the other times I keep them separate, and my preferred forms of cardio training are boxing intervals, where I do boxing on a heavy bag, and then I like to go ahead and do intervals of jump rope, some burpees in between. This gives me a little bit of variety, keeps things interesting instead of just taking a long rest between the rounds. Second, I really enjoy hiking. Hiking is a great way to get some cardiovascular exercise in, especially if you're going up elevation. Changing elevation can be great at, getting you that slow, steady state cardiovascular exercises needed to really increase your aerobic capabilities, your respiratory capabilities, and it's just great to get outside, to enjoy the time outside with someone else. And then biking. I love biking. I used to bike sometimes 30, 40 miles just with my old roommate, just kind of meandering all around in Montana. When you're putting together your routine, say you're training weights, just make sure you're either loading a little bit more weight each week, pushing a little bit harder, doing or a few more reps per set. So with cardiovascular exercise, you might set goals of, trying to run the same distance a little bit faster until you meet a goal, and then you say, okay, now I'm going to increase that distance, and then slowly whittle that down to a quicker time. Or even just going for. Number 1 thing to do is to get a workout routine, put a workout routine together. If you need help, that's something that I, as a personal trainer, could help you with, or you could find something online. Just make sure you get it from a reliable source. So the second thing that you need to do to reach your physical goals in 2022 is to focus on your nutrition. And I know there's a lot of different diets out there or nutrition plans, and it really doesn't need to be that complicated. I personally try to follow a lower carb diet, but I'm far from following a ketogenic diet. Generally because I'm pretty active and I'm lifting quite a bit. I try to take in 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight per day. You don't generally need to go over that, so that's the one requirement that I have. Personally find that having a lower carb diet for myself and a higher fat diet keeps me from really wanting to snack as much. When I eat a lot of simple starches or grain type carbohydrates or things that have added sugar in them, I instantly become more hungry, and I actually just eating a piece of candy will make me feel ravenous. Like I just cannot stop eating once that happens. So I just avoid that. I stick to a diet filled with vegetables and fruits. And we do occasionally, have the grains. I love to make my own pizza dough. I've been making my own pizza dough, and we've been having pizza either Friday or Saturday night for the past several years. And on those days, I pay particular attention to what I eat in the morning, in the afternoon, and for my snacks, so that I can squeeze that in and don't go over my calories. Because the most important thing in maintaining your nutrition is to actually track your calories. The macros can be important, and trying different ratios, you might find something that works really well for you that causes you to be satiated and full more of the time. And that's how I use macros, really, and to make sure that I get enough protein. But just get yourself a scale. Measure things in grams or ounces. I prefer to measure all solids in grams, and I'll often, even though the density of, say, milk is different than water, it's really fairly close. So rather than using a measuring cup for liquids, I often will actually use the scale for that as well. It makes cooking a lot easier, a lot more precise, and I've just gotten in that habit and done that for years. All right, so the third thing that you need to do is you need to stay consistent. Consistency is what really makes results. If you have a plan to reach a goal and you only stick to that plan 25 or 50% of the time, the likelihood of you reaching that goal is greatly diminished. Now, this is really important to realize, because a lot of people, they'll rush into, say, the new year with their great New Year's resolution. I'm gonna get in shape, or I'm gonna lose some weight, or whatever it is, and they don't really have a plan to start off with, and then they're not consistent. First, by developing the plan, by getting a plan together, you increase your likelihood of staying consistent. Because one of the hardest things to do is to do things on the fly, think of new things to do when you're not experienced at doing something. One of the best ways to stay consistent is to track your progress. So, if you're trying to lose weight, Weigh yourself. I like to weigh myself every day and take a median for the week. Every 7 days. I have it in my Excel spreadsheet. So, what are some good ways that you can track your progress? What I like to do, and I will show you this here, is I really enjoy. So what I like to do is I use an Excel sheet, and this Excel sheet is one tab. You can see multiple tabs at the bottom, and each tab is its own workout. So I can see exactly what I did last time and then adjust. Another thing that I like to use is an app, you can see it here, called Strong. So just to recap, the 3 things that you need to do in 2022 to reach your physical goals are: 1, to exercise and continually progress in your exercise. Get an actual exercise plan or program into place that allows you to continually progress towards a goal. Number 2, focus on your nutrition and develop a plan. Figure out a nutrition plan that works into your life. This may require that you prepare meals in advance, such as breakfast. I like to prepare multiple breakfasts at once. It takes me about 15 minutes to prepare a week or a week and a half of breakfast. And the same thing with lunches. I usually prepare about 8 days worth of lunches every time that I prepare my lunches. And then finally, 3rd, you need to stay consistent. And the best way to stay consistent is to, 1, let people know what you're doing. Don't keep your goals, don't keep what you're doing a secret. Let people know. If you really do need to, you can get a coach to help you stay accountable, to check in on your plan, to develop a plan for you and make sure that you stick to that plan. Or if you feel comfortable doing those things, just make sure you're consistent by tracking. And there it is. So this allows me to bring up my workouts, and I have multiple folders within here for different workouts that I've designed as full cycles or full macro cycles. And I can then go in there and track my workouts. I'll show it to you when you bring it up. It tells me exactly what has been done, and I can go into the history and see what weights I have recently used, number of reps, and it will even estimate 1 rep max and provide me the volume. There are other types of apps I use as well. I use an interval timer, so I can just increase the time on the interval, on the work intervals, or I could decrease the rest time. So those are a couple of things that I like to do. As far as tracking calories, I used to use a simple notebook, but now we have MyFitnessPal, and as you can see, it gives me my macros. I can add foods very easily, and I can add them to the meals. Or if I select something, it's going to show me what I've most recently eaten, and I can just copy it in. And you can create recipes in here. So as you're preparing, weigh out your food, enter the items into your recipe and number of servings, and you're good to go.